largely my own, as inadequate as I feel to address this issue. I can't say a eulogy. I did not know the child who passed away. I can only share what I feel are some lessons from this story. I've been asked many questions. I don't know why they ask me. Maybe I'm a rabbi and I know all the answers. But I've been asked many questions, and I think three of them stand out. The first question people ask is, why is this story so much bigger than so many other tragic stories in the news? And the second question that people ask is, what does this have to do with us in Pittsburgh that we need to make such a big deal of it? And the third question, and this is the big one that everybody asks all the time, how could God let this happen? So on the last question, there's a story about the Rimanover. The Rimanover was one of the early Hasidic Rebbes who was walking down the street with some of his followers one day, and they found a child crying. And the Rebbe asked the child, "Why are you crying?" And the child said, "We were playing hide and seek, and I was hiding, and my friends didn't find me." And the Rebbe said, "Well, isn't that the point?" And he said, the child said, "Rebbe, you don't understand. They stopped looking." That's why he was crying. And the Rebbe turned to his Hasidim and he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hiding. We live in times of Hester Ponim. Hashem hides his face. And many events take place that we totally don't understand. As long as we remember that Nistorim Darkei Hashem, that God's ways are mysterious and hidden, as long as we continue looking and trying to find the answers, Hashem has accomplished what he wants to accomplish. Once we give up looking, once we give up asking, once we think we're never going to get the answers, then Hashem cries. I don't know what the answers are for this. I don't know why Hashem did this. I doubt anybody really knows. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a huge plan that every single event affects everybody in the world in some way. Everybody who hears about the event is meant to hear about it. Everybody who learns from the event has fulfilled the purpose of what happened. Maybe we're following what we think are false leads. Maybe those false leads are what Hashem wants us to learn. Why did Hashem do this? I don't know. But I think that if we learn some lessons from this, maybe that's what Hashem had in mind for us in particular. Some things are apparent very quickly. They're a test, they're some help, a challenge, and some things only become apparent 70 years later. I think that there are certain things that we can pick up from the way this story unfolded for us and use it to improve ourselves somewhat. The Torah says, Ve'el atzilei b'nei Yisrael lo sholach yodai, vayechazu es ha'elekim vayechlu vayishtu. The great leaders of the Jewish people at Har Sinai, at Sinai, the Atzilim. Atzilim means those people who are next to Hashem. They're Eitzah. They saw this great vision, and they ate and they drank. And Rashi says that the Torah is criticizing these people for having experienced such a great vision and sitting down to eat and drink. They should have spent more time meditating on what they saw. They should have thought about it. Because there's always something to learn from everything we see and and everything we experience. Which brings us to the second question. We're in Pittsburgh. We're far away from those events that happened in New York. Apart from the usual themes of safety and the horrors of bloodshed that are too close for comfort, if that's the right word, and the like, I think there are other lessons that can be drawn from this very idea, the fact that we're distant, the fact that we're so far away and apparently far removed from what took place in New York. And now let's think a little bit about what's the difference between this story. Why is this story different from any other story? Rabbi Rosenblum will be able to share with you the huge impact that this story had on the local community in New York. We interact with these people. Rabbi Rosenblum is right here, and he was there. We know these people. These people are our people. We are in touch with them, with their friends, on a regular basis. So we're really not so far removed from it. The world is not as big as we think it is. Things are much closer when we think about it. However, it's still true that we feel a little detached from this event, even here in faraway Pittsburgh. Why then did we hear about this story at all? Why are we asking questions about it? Why are people coming and asking me questions about it? The reason is because it was big news. It was big news. All the different news agencies had some story on it. Everybody was updating us with details, the drama unfolding. So it was big news. And that's why we're interested in it. It captured our interest, I think, as onlookers. And pardon me, maybe as gawkers. We were just looking at it for the excitement. I think we have to face the fact that news nowadays is really a form of entertainment. The reporters and the editors look for the most entertaining stories to attract more viewers and more readers, and the viewers and the readers buy into it. We follow the news stories as though it's a story. We lose touch with the reality of the situation, and it becomes a picture and an exciting event. We might even be there and live through the horror and still seem to relish it. We seem to get thrills from hearing it. We want to hear more and more, we want to hear all the details until we get sickened, and then we move on to the next story. Rabbi Victor Miller would learn lessons, and I don't know what the exact lessons were, from horror movies. And one of the things he pointed out was, you have a whole crowd of people in a theater watching a horror movie, and all of them are screaming. Why are they screaming? Because they're scared. So why don't you jump up and run away? Jump up and run out of the theater. Because they know that it's not real, and yet they're screaming. They're living in sort of a contradiction in their mind. They're not in touch with reality, and they're scared of what isn't really reality, and they're screaming in real life. Perhaps the thrill is what they're coming for. The thrill of something that's just a picture and something like that. And unfortunately, that's become our way of viewing the news. How many people watched the World Trade Center coming down like it was a movie? The news reporters, the television tried to make it, portray it with all the details, and people watched it over and over again. Why would a person do that? Why would a person repeatedly watch this horrible thing happening? Because it's a picture, it's on a screen, and you can watch it as though it's a movie. You don't have to live through it. This detachment from reality is double-edged. Because it's just another story, we tend to underplay its significance. The real answer to the first question, why is this story different? The real answer is the question itself. We should be paying the same amount of attention to every single tragedy that takes place. We shouldn't just be picking up a story